Go ahead and call the regular city council meeting to order. 7:01. Thank you guys for another month of calling in here. Okay, at this time, let's go ahead and see if we can recognize our visitors one by one. So if you guys go ahead and state your name loud enough, that'd be great.
Steve Marsh, TD&H Engineering.
Hi Steve, thanks for joining us again.
No problem.
Marge Wanick. Jeff.
Hi Marge.
Jeffrey Talkington. Jess Silham.
Okay, I think that's it. Sounds like if somebody else is on there and is having trouble getting through, you can chime in and say your name whenever. We'll go ahead and move on here. Steven, since you're on with us, I'd like to go ahead and open the public hearing for the CDBG grant funding opportunity. I know we had you on last time. We had a little mix-up with the ad in the paper, but everything went smoothly this time. So I'd like to call for any questions or comments on that.
What was the acronym? What does it stand for?
Community Development Block Grant, which is CDBG.
Thank you.
Yep. Steve, do you have anything else to add from last time? I know you gave us your input and kind of filled all the council members in. Do you have anything else this go around to add on top?
No, it's all the same.
Okay.
Just here to answer questions if anybody has any.
Okay.
Steve, I have a question, Nathan.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
This is Peter Davenport, Steve. What's the timeline we can expect for the grant? When will it be completed, and what can you tell us about this?
We will know if you get it sometime in probably mid-September, Peter, mid to end of September.
Okay, and how soon after receipt of that grant, should we be that fortunate, would work begin, and what would it entail?
That's a great question, because at that point we would have two of our three pieces of funding for the water system plan. But it would be, if we get it, I would love to sit down with council and go, okay, as of now we have almost $60,000 in grant, $60,000 in funding, one being the Public Works Trust Fund, Public Works Board, and one being CDBG grant for $24,000. Could we start now and continue working on the USDA search grant? I would have to put more thought into it, what the pluses and minuses of that are, Peter. But sometime in September would be the earliest in which we would start. And it takes about a year to get a water system plan approved. I'm sorry, I kind of rambled there, but I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that was clear. Thank you for that. And one other question, and then I'll release the floor. What is your anticipation? What are your thoughts on how difficult it may be to get funding from the federal government, given the effect on their revenues by the end.
I think, Peter, and my guess, and this is simply a guess, I have not heard, this money comes from obviously the feds, I have not heard them cutting the community development block grant program this year. Now that doesn't mean next year something isn't going to happen, but this year I have not heard anything about them cutting it.
Okay. Urgent news. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get an email tomorrow announcing it, but as of today, I don't know. It sounds like everything is going forward as normal.
Well, that's good news, and we'll hope that continues. Okay, thank you, Peter. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. This time I'd like to close the public hearing, and thank you again, Stephen, for jumping on here with us and answering questions and taking the time out of your day.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening.
You too. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay, Council, looking at the agenda here, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
This is Levi. I have none.
Peter, I have three additions.
Okay.
I'd like the council to discuss better speed control by the cemetery. Number 2, I've been approached by a citizen of our city, a resident of our city, who has some questions about the use of masks for the pandemic, and consistent with the governor's mandate. And 3, I'm interested in knowing whether we've ever gotten a letter from Casey Mung stemming from her statement at the January meeting, the January 2020 meeting.
Okay, I've got those 3. We'll address those. Thank you, Peter. Anyone else? David, I know we have dedicated sewer employee on here again and city employee handbook. You wanted to wait till we were meeting in person, is that correct?
I think that'd be more beneficial, so I go ahead and strike those for this go around.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll strike both of those then.
Thanks.
Hey, Nathan, this is Justin. I had just one announcement to make out at the end about the Public Works Board online sessions next week.
Okay, we'll add that on there. Mr. Hardy, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Nathan, this is Justin one more time. It'll come up in bills a little bit too, but I had a question about us not paying or us based on the bills. This looks like we're carrying a balance on a credit card, and I guess I just wanted to get clarification on that, so I'd like to be able to add that during the bills discussion.
Okay. We can do that. Okay. With those added agenda items, is everybody happy and willing to approve the agenda?
Happy.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that, Justin, on the agenda, or we just can add it and we're good?
Yeah,
Okay.
don't have to approve it.
Okay. Alright, well we got those and we'll move on. Approval of the June meeting minutes. I know Peter had a correction, but I think we've taken care of that. Are there any other corrections or additions?
page, on the first page under COVID-19 update.
Yes.
I think the last sentence, the city is planning to meet in person for the next month's meeting. I think that was, supposed to be as allowed. Just to add that was we were planning on doing it if we could. Obviously, we could not now, so it's a minor edit.
Okay, so we could maybe just add if allowed into that sentence.
Or as allowed.
Okay.
Next month's meeting, comma, as allowed.
Alrighty, we can do that. Any others?
Question for us too on it on the second page, chicken ordinance. It says there's a spelling there, but a lengthy discussion ensued about ordinance 319, and it says the final motion by Councilmember Shank, and then it says seconded by Davenport, and then later it says Councilmember Hardy motion to adopt chicken ordinance 319, seconded by Shank. So it starts off with a final motion, but then there's a second motion. It sounds like there's a second motion, so I just wasn't sure how that was supposed to be worded.
I believe it would technically be correct because both of them were motions, but the difference would be that it would probably be better worded to say that the final amendment by Councilman Shank and then the motion to adopt.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. We can get that change in there as well. Okay, any other corrections or additions?
This is Peter. I move that the minutes for the June 10th meeting as proposed, as presented and corrected here be accepted as presented and corrected.
This is Levi. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving them as corrected, please signify by saying aye.
Levi, aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think I heard everybody on there. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, guys. Okay, next up, we'll move on to the June bills. I know, Justin, you had something to add in there. Why don't we go ahead and start with that?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at the original. I guess probably the original bills. Don't know. I know there was like 3 or 4 different versions that went out. I didn't print all those off. So, but my question on, well, I guess I got a couple. I got a correction. It's transaction number 581. It's on page 2. It says check register 71 to 71. So it was a second. It was a second attachment, I guess. Second set of bills.
Okay.
581. It says Lincoln County Auditor, and then it says voter registration, and then maintenance Costa. And I wasn't sure if Costa was supposed to be costs or something else. Something else was missing.
Yes, I believe it should be cost. Is that correct, Janice?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, we can take care of that pretty easily.
Okay. And then I'd asked Janice about, see, it's on the third set of bills, 78 to 78. It's transaction number 594 on 78 for Home Depot credit card services. So the original one I asked about, it said finance charges for Home Depot card, and then think it got updated to say maintenance, or it said something else, and then it said and finance charges from Home Depot. But I guess my question is, Janice says that we pay the bill in full, but every other credit card type of thing we have on here, whether it be Office Depot or that says like supplies. It doesn't say finance charges. So I just wanted to, I guess I'm concerned that we're carrying a balance if we have to pay finance charges.
Yeah, I do see that. Janice, could you explain how we pay that bill and that description on there?
Yes, I was paying those receipts as I was getting them and attaching them and not looking. I was paying them as those receipts were coming in, but only paying the total of the receipt. But I wasn't seeing that they were charging a finance charge, so I was only paying the total of what we were charging to them. So that was on me.
Okay, so that,
Understand what I'm saying?
yeah, there was a finance charge on there, so there was essentially a balance forward on that because we were just paying what on the amount that we were charging.
Right.
So
I was going off of the receipts that were being handed to me and not realizing that they were charging us finance charges.
okay, so this.
Go ahead.
This will be so this is a one-time deal to catch up back to where we're at, and then going forward we won't incur those finance charges anymore.
Correct.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Justin?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the bills? Okay, hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve the June bills.
This is Levi, so moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Peter will second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
David, aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Motion passes 5-0. Margie, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, we'll move on and get to you so you can move on with your evening. So if the council doesn't know, this is Margie Hall with us from the EDC, and she's going to explain a little bit on some COVID-19 relief funds for us and be able to answer any questions better than I would. So I will give you the floor, Margie.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay.
A little louder if you could, please, Margie.
Okay, I'll hold it up. Tell me if I get too loud. So, good evening, everybody. I had asked Mayor Luck if I could provide a summary of the coronavirus relief funds that are available to Lincoln County cities and towns. The county mayors have had several calls regarding this and other funds that are coming down the pike, but the criteria is constantly changing, and so I just appreciate having the opportunity to review this funding with your council. So all cities and towns in Washington received an email from the Department of Commerce inviting them to apply for coronavirus relief funds. They are part of the state's Federal CARES Act stimulus funding. It came to the state, and then Governor Inslee then made funds available from the state's funding to all of Washington counties and municipalities to help them recover from the pandemic. Carrington is eligible to receive up to $25,000 for coronavirus-related expenses. wherein lies kind of some confusion. So, in a nutshell, the email said, congratulations, there's CARES Act money available for your community, but it has to be used to cover costs that, one, are necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease of 2019. Two, they were not accounted for in the budget most recently approved as of March 27th, 2020, the date of the enactment of the CARES Act. And three, that they were incurred during the period that begins on March 1st and ends on October 31st. So basically, necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to coronavirus. You can see by that email why some towns in our county, and this is what happened, thought that the funding could only be used for direct health emergency response, something that most of our communities have had little involvement with, fortunately. But there are actually many ways to use this funding, and that is really why I wanted to talk to you and what I want to clarify. So the general intent of these funds is to help jurisdictions cover the immediate impacts of the COVID-19 emergency, but it's both direct costs to the jurisdiction and costs to their community. The U.S. Treasury is who has prepared the main guidance document for this funding, and that document is your best guide. It's only 4 pages long. It's very simple to understand, and it's the best guide to help communities determine what the possible expenses are for the $25,000. It's available on the Department of Commerce, the coronavirus webpage, which if you Google WA Commerce CRF, it comes up. In addition to the obvious costs, such as personal protection equipment for your staff and facilities, there are a lot of uses that are more likely to fit our smaller communities, like food delivery to residents or equipment to facilitate distance learning. The funding can also be passed on to another entity, such as a hospital district. But another use, and of course my favorite, is the provision of economic support in connection with COVID-19, which includes expenses related to providing grants to small businesses to reimburse the cost of business interruption caused by required closures. Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yep, there we are.
Okay. Did you hear that last part?
I did.
Interruption caused by required closures?
Yeah, go ahead and repeat that last part just to make sure everyone got it.
Okay. So another use is provision of economic support in connection with COVID-19, which includes expenses related to providing grants to small businesses for reimbursement of costs to the business if it was interrupted by a required closure, which, as we know, happens to a lot of our businesses. So governments can partner with schools or other entities, and in the case of small business assistance, you can partner with the EDC. We are already a subcontractor with Commerce. We already administer grants on their behalf, and we can do the same for you. That can remove the city from the process a bit in relation to privacy or public records requests, and puts that pressure on the EDC. So in your case, if Harrington were to choose to do small business grants through the EDC would ensure that every penny of Harrington's money allotted to those grants would go to Harrington businesses. And we would be ecstatically happy to help you however we could should you decide to go that route. Because obviously we're extremely concerned about not only what happened to our businesses in the beginning, but just because their doors are open does not mean that the problem has gone away. And they continue to suffer. So we've already agreed to administer Odessa's funding as small business grants, and we are preparing a simple application and process, and we will be making our best recommendation to Odessa with that process at their council meeting next week So if it's something you do end up considering, we'll have a prototype for you to look at. The goal is to get the funds out quickly, but at the same time carefully following the guidelines. So there'll be somewhat of a pilot project for other communities. An application in this case needs to ask questions that clarify the public benefit of helping the business, such as jobs saved, jobs created, tax revenue maintained, avoiding bankruptcy or permanent closure. So we would include those in the application. It sounds like they need to, like I say, this has been a moving target. There's so many changes being made every week, updates being made every week. But what I've read suggests that grants should focus on businesses that were required to close by the response of the state to the pandemic. So either that or businesses that are necessary in response to public health emergency. So I'll get off my soapbox and a little bit more on the program. My neighbor just took a little bit more on the program in general to help you, any city, decide if the uses that they're considering are eligible. The Treasury has provided a 5-question eligible cost test. So it asks what the council would do is they'd look at their use and they would ask, is the expense connected to the COVID-19 emergency? Is the expense necessary? And you determine the definition of necessary. Is the expense one that cannot fill a shortfall or does not fill a shortfall in government revenues? Not allowed. Is it not funded already through another budget line item? And then would the expense have existed without COVID-19, or would it been for a substantially different purpose? So that eligible cost test is also available on the website. When I was calling Commerce with my questions, they answered about the first 4, and after that they started saying, you need to do the 5-question eligible cost test and determine that for yourself and for your community. So they're putting a lot of importance on this test, helping you make decisions on what to do. Other things important to note are that the expenses have to be incurred between March 1st and October 31st. The Treasury guidance says March 1st through December 30th, but that is the deadline for the state. Cities and towns have a deadline of October 31st, which means you have time, breathing room, time to think, time to meet. It's also important to note that the cash flow process is reimbursement. The municipality pays for an expense, Commerce reimburses them. I am seeing the reimbursement requirement is being excused in some cases. For example, say you wanted to give all $25,000 of your money to the hospital district, then Commerce would assist with that cash flow, and they would not make you write a check for $25,000, give it to the hospital, and then turn around and get reimbursed. That's one way I've seen it loosened. I'm seeing other little things. So again, moving fluid process. And then, just so you know, you can choose one expense or you can choose several. You can split it up amongst different uses. So next step for Harrington, I would say make sure you contract with Commerce so that you have access to the $25,000. And then decide how you use the funds, making sure your decisions pass the 5-question test. And then for Janice, there's a coronavirus relief funds for local governments program guideline that has all the information you need for submitting A-19 and anything else that has to do with the paper flow. There's also a 10-page and growing frequently asked questions document on the Commerce website as well. I hope this makes it a little easier to wrap your head around, and I hope you'll find a way to utilize it for Harrington's benefit, because otherwise it's just going to stay with the state. That's why it's reimbursement funds, so that if you don't spend it, they still have it. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to help get answers for them. My contact info is, I think you've all gotten my business cards over the years. I think you know how to reach me. And if you call, I'm not there, leave a message. I'll get it on my laptop, and I will call you back. and I'm happy to answer any questions, or you probably need some time to digest.
Okay, thank you, Margie. I appreciate you jumping on the call with us and filling us in there. I know one quick question that I would have, what have you seen other cities do as far as, so we get the $25,000, and then are they choosing to give half of that money to businesses or schools or hospitals, or how are they dividing that money up for different cities?
So far, I know that Elmira is doing a few business grants, but they have very few businesses. And then they're also using the funding to pay for their plexiglass that they put up and a few things like that.
Right.
And then they have gotten their clerk a new laptop with video and audio. I don't know if you remember, Mayor, but Jeanette could never get video, I think, on her computer in the office for mayor's meetings. She always has to beat this audio. But,
right.
So that's what they have decided so far. Preston, I don't know. I have not heard from them. Davenport had expenses that the fire station had accrued and that they had accrued, like some plexiglass and some PPE and some snow fencing they put around the park to keep people out. But they are considering small business grants with what they have left of their funding.
Okay.
And that's, I think, $25,000. Odessa, 100% small business. They're very concerned about their businesses, and their council voted that in a month ago. Odessa, Reardon is just barely tackling the subject, and Greg is barely tackling the subject. I'm encouraging them to consider your small business grants because they don't have a lot of other expenses that will hit. And then I just joined Wilderness Council meeting last night, so hopefully they talked about it after I got off the phone.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just kind of curious to see what other places had done, so thank you for that.
I think most importantly, just don't leave it on the table. I just hope you have till October 31st to spend it. I just hope you'll take it, find a way for it to benefit your community.
You bet, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Margie, this is Justin. I had a question.
Hi, Justin.
So two things. If the city contracts with the EDC or grants the EDC to manage this process, if we were to do it, does that take everything off of Harrington's plate? You guys do 100% of it?
No, Harrington would still have to submit the A-19. You would still have to handle that money piece of it. There's going to be a contact assigned to your contract, a contact from Harrington, and that will be their responsibility. But we would try to take everything else off of your plate.
And
I'm hoping that we can kind of do this all at once. I'd like to find out who all are interested in it, put together an application, get it vetted by everybody, and then have an attorney give it a look over, make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, and kind of go that route.
Okay, and then would there be a cost?
Pardon?
Would there be a cost? Like, if are you guys like when you guys did the survey stuff for us? You know, we contract with you. Would there be is the EDC gonna you guys charge us like on a per hour basis, and then we would just use the CARES Act money to pay for your services?
No. We would be grateful to help you help your small business. You're members of the EDC.
Great.
This is included.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the council?
This is Peter. I have no questions.
Okay.
Levi, I have none. David, done.
I don't have any questions, but in order to keep this moving forward, I'm sure there are perhaps members of the council that are not willing to put anything to a vote or put an action forward, and that's okay. But I believe that I've reached my position on this, so I'm ready to move forward on this, and the council is.
Okay.
Well, I'll go ahead and get off, and thank you again for the opportunity to have a conversation about it. Appreciate it, and I will be in my office tomorrow if anybody has any follow-up questions.
Okay, thank you again, Margie. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay, Steven, sounds like you know how you feel. I think we should probably, just to cover everything, we should probably put it to a vote. I don't know that we have to, but I'd like to. Is the rest of the council willing to to make a motion and vote on this, or is this something that you guys would like to research a little bit more, and we can maybe have another special meeting, or what do you guys feel?
Nathan?
Yeah.
David? This time I'd like a little more research, looked into a little bit more for myself. And I was going to ask you for that website again, but I could get that after the meeting from you guys. Sure, somebody wrote it down.
Yeah, yep.
Not this.
Okay, maybe we can talk and see if we can set another meeting, and I can check too and see that we need to vote on this as far as being in a meeting, or if we can just choose to go forward, or I can choose to go forward if you guys are happy and go ahead and contract with Commerce. But yeah, we'll be in touch about that then, and I have the websites and stuff I can get to you, David, when you need.
So, Nathan, this is Justin.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of probably, I haven't talked to Steven about this, but maybe I'm probably in the same line. There's several businesses in town. I mean, there's multiple businesses that are hurting. So us extending this for another month, that's going to be 5 months from March 1st, essentially, for those businesses. And some of them are barely holding on. If they are holding on, I'm glad Margie brought this came up on the agenda tonight, because I think that if there's money on the table for us to use, we can choose to spend it and get reimbursed, or we can come up with a program, but we can also at least agree in principle to start it, because if we wait till August, or even a special meeting at the end of July, there's potentially businesses that are in town that might not, that could benefit from receiving any kind of grant funding.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there's any ill effects to if we go forward and vote to contract with Commerce on this, that there's any ill effects. I mean, this is obviously grant funding and nothing out of our pocket as far as money wise. So.
Well, Nathan.
Go ahead.
Nathan?
Yeah.
One of the concerns I have is how to distribute this. What portion goes to who? And we don't have a ton of businesses, but what we do, we want to take care of. I'm in agreement with that. But how do you determine how much of the pie goes to where?
Well, Margie kind of explained a little bit of that. So if we were to have the EDC distribute those funds, that's what she was talking about, coming up with some kind of a process and an application that they would distribute the money. I think as far as the amount that we're allowing to go out of that $25,000 that we want to go to businesses in general, not one specific one, we can set that amount, and then the EDC will have, say we did 15,000 of that, then that $15,000 would be distributed through that through the EDC to businesses via that application process that they come up with.
So is it something that I'm in agreement, that we can throw our hat in the ring, but at this time the distribution part is kind of sketchy to me. Maybe I'm missing something, but right now we can go ahead and put in an application for the money, lock that in, and then the distribution stuff we could talk about at a later date. Special meeting or what? Just what? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think if we can go ahead and move forward, like Justin had said, and apply for this money and get going on it. We can choose to distribute this ourselves or have the EDC to distribute those funds and find out how that's going to work through the EDC. So I'd agree with you. I think if we could, if we had a motion to send in the application for the funds, then we could start that process.
I'll make a motion.
I'd like to maybe clarify my position, because I said that I was ready to move forward, but I didn't necessarily express what I was thinking. First of all, I think, her point that if we don't take this money, it goes, if I understand it correctly, back into Inslee's hands. That doesn't thrill me. So I think that we want to have the funds, and then we just need to figure out what we need to do with them. A couple things in my mind. I think I would be looking at something like a 90-10 split. I mean, not that we would spend anything that doesn't make any sense, but if we can find 10% of the $25,000 to spend on local improvements, sounds like there was some uses that are a little bit out of the box as far as there was a mention of technology upgrades, plexiglass, masks, that type of thing. I don't think I've heard of any investments that we've made as a town into that area. Now, granted, it doesn't really sound like we've needed it yet, but if there continues to be movement on this, it may be wise to use the funds and have things here ahead of time instead of trying to purchase it once it becomes a problem. So, first of all, I guess my point is that I think it would be good to make a split instead of just putting all the $25,000 into grant money. I'm not really tied to 90-10, but I think there's some type of a number in there somewhere. The second point I would make is that probably we'd want to do a little bit more looking into making sure that there isn't some type of, or at least knowing what, if anything, is held over our head. Usually when you get something for free, there's some type of a price for it. Mm-hmm. So now, when it's $25,000 going out to our community, I'm willing to perhaps pay some prices because it's something we can't provide as a city ourselves. So if we have to do a little bit of legwork or have to be beholden to a few things, maybe it's worth $25,000 to do what we can't do, but do our normal budgets. But it'd be nice to know what that is going into it. And then I got the impression that maybe I didn't. And now that Margie's probably not here with us anymore, but I got the impression that they would make like recommendations on what to do, that we would determine the final splits. But anyway you slice it, I think we can probably figure out how we want to get through that. The last thing I'll say before I shut up here is that I'm more than happy to support if we want to take a little bit of time to research this. But to Justin's point, to me, that means that if we want to hold a special meeting in a week to get this decided, I'm all for giving people their time to research, but I'm not for really kicking this off for a whole nother month.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think we should go ahead and I would advise us to go ahead and go forward with the application process. And to answer your question about, nothing's for free and there may be something hanging over our heads. As far as I know, everything that I've talked to Margie, that's not the case. I will ask that question to her again if she happens to see anything looming in the future. But I think just to get going on it, we should do that. And then it sounded like to me, if I understood Margie correctly, that they are going to make some recommendations on how we do things. And I think we have the choice to either take that recommendation and use it and do it that way, or come up with our own system. I also don't know for sure that they have that system in place at this point. It sounded like not a lot of towns were quite to that point yet. So I think in a short time, I think that those processes are going to come forward.
Peter, I have a question about Stephen's statement. Are we sure, did Margie say that if we don't apply for the full $25,000 that it reverts to the state, or could it revert to the federal coffers?
I do not know exactly where that money would go. I think she was just alluding to the point that if we don't apply for it, it's going to go somewhere else.
Nathan, this is Justin.
Yeah.
So the money was given from the federal government to the states, and our state was one of the ones that chose to distribute that money to the cities and counties. So the money's already been given to Washington State. If we don't use, and it's based on a per person or per citizen, like pro rata share, and since we only have 400 people, we get the minimum of $25,000. We qualify for the minimum of $25,000. So if we do not use that money, it reverts back to the state of Washington, who's been granted that money from the federal government.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Nathan?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
If nobody else has anything to say about it, I'll make a motion to move forward with this, get the process going.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by David. Do we have a second?
This is Levi. I'll second it.
Okay, Levi, I heard you first in there as a second. All in favor of moving forward with the application process for the relief funds, signify by saying aye.
This is Levi. Aye.
Peter says aye.
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 Alrighty, thank you, council. Motion passes 5-0. I'll get an email out or something. We can schedule some stuff going forward to you to try to answer some of those other questions that we have. Thank you. Okay, next up, I have Lions Club cargo container. Just a little bit of a preface before we get going on that. I'll kind of fill you in with what I know. The Lions Club has been looking for a place to put a cargo container. They have flags at the cemetery that were installed a couple years ago, and they're taken down and putting back up for holidays, certain times during the year. They're looking for a place to store those when they're not at the cemetery and up. So they came up with trying to put a cargo container somewhere, preferably at the cemetery itself, to be able to put the flags on a trailer and then back the trailer in, just so that it's in close proximity to where they get put up every time. However, I've been notified that this was in fact talked about at a previous council meeting in 2017, I believe, and that the general consensus from the council then was that it wasn't a good idea, that they didn't like it, and thought that the people of the cemetery and the donors, that it'd almost be kind of an eyesore, and it wouldn't look really good. So I just kind of wanted to give you that this has been brought up, and they decided to not allow it, essentially. So with that, I'll let you guys kind of chime in. The one thing I would ask, if you don't think that cargo container process of putting one at the cemetery would work, maybe to get some input on another place to put it or another means of storing those flags. I do know that the Lions Club is wanting somewhere that's rodent proof and to keep those flags in good conditions, being that people donated money and bought those flags.
David, where are they currently being stored at?
So most of the time they are in the basement of the city hall. They're kept up on a table, and then actually Creighton Ostrich, I believe, also keeps them in during the summertime in his shop at his residence.
Is it Lions Club members that put them up, or city workers? Who puts them up? Exactly.
Lions Club members and the homemakers as well.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with Scotty or Charlie, the city crew. There's no part of that?
As far as putting them up and down, no, that's a homemake. It was originally a homemakers project, and then the Lions Club got involved, and so both of those groups end up putting them up and taking them down.
And that, we're talking about the big flags, fairly large flags that are line the whole front of the cemetery, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So I just kind of want to get a...
This is Justin.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just was trying to give some more context. So at the time in 2017, that's when the McGregor building also became available. And so at that time, there was discussion of the city buying that building and using it for maintenance. And if we did that, then we would move out of the city shop and also work with the Lions Club to give them potentially a bay at the old city shop. So at the time, the option was, when it was discussed, there was some trepidation with putting a cargo container at the cemetery, but at the same time, that was also talked about dismantling the building that's there now that's falling over. There was a lot of other things besides just not the appearance of it. There was several other things in play at the time that haven't transpired as what they kind of thought they were going to transpire with, in my opinion. So that's just some other background and other color, and not just because there were people on the council that brought it up about the appearance of it. Some people talked about painting them. There was just different discussions, but at the same time, there was, we might, the whole McGregor building and the city hall, the city shop type of stuff. So that's just some extra background.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I wasn't involved with the city council at that time, so I do appreciate that background. I do know, just for the council's knowledge, that the Lions Club is willing to obviously paint it and make it, it's not just going to be some old rusty, banged up shipping container that's going to be sitting there. But I guess I just kind of wanted to open up to you guys on your thoughts on, one, putting it at the cemetery itself, and then, like I said, if that's something that we decide not to do for whatever reason, then maybe some alternate options.
Hey, David. I have a couple questions. Right now, what's that building used for currently? What's in it?
The building at the cemetery that's currently there?
Yes.
Just storage. There's some stuff that they store in there that the city does that stores in there for the cemetery. I don't know exactly what's in there, but it's a storage shed. I know it used to house the lawnmower or other stuff to take care of the cemetery.
I think they also use it for the park, too, chairs and stuff for the park.
Oh, okay.
They do what with it?
Some stuff for the park. Justin said he thought they put some stuff in there, some chairs and maybe the tables and stuff of that nature.
Oh, I didn't think it was that big, but this cargo container that they want to looking at, how big a container are we talking about?
I'm not sure the exact height on it. They were looking at the 20-foot long container. Essentially, what the goal was to have a small trailer and then have those flags rolled up on that trailer, and then they would just back that trailer into this container, and then when we went to put those flags back up, they'd just hook onto it, drive out to the front of the cemetery, put them up, and then put the trailer back. So to answer your question, it's a 20-footer.
Okay. And the question number 2 is, did they ever going to buy this, or he bought it, or the funding for this, a donation, or where'd the money come for this cargo? Is it already bought, or where's that fit in?
No, the cargo container has not been purchased. The Lions Club is willing to purchase it. they wanted to make sure that they have a spot to go with it, or that that's a viable option before they purchase it. But it has not been purchased yet, but they are willing to.
Okay. I just wonder what kind of condition that shack or shed that's up there right now is in. If it's dilapidated to the point it needs to be torn down, or it can be fixed or expanded.
It's in horrible condition.
Is it?
When I take walks in the evening, it's got siding that's falling down off of it. It's tipped and tilted. The seat that was off the side has pulled siding off because it's no longer fastened well. The roof is in poor condition, especially on the back side. I think it's a matter of time before it's going to fall down. It needs to go.
Well, the other part, I had a question I'd like to bring up. Several ideas. I mean, is it something that we can knock down cost-wise, build another shed? And if it's aesthetics issues, put a cargo container there and build a shelter over it so it doesn't look like a cargo container. I know that would add money, but, people, there's some prominent donors to the cemetery that personally I've heard through the grapevine are dead set against a cargo container out there. So is it something that we could, I take it this cargo container would be dedicated just for Lions Club flags and stuff like that. No other, lawnmowers and tools and all that kind of stuff is not part of that equation or planned on. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, originally for the cargo container itself, that was the plan. It's just for this trailer, just for Lions Club. I know that there has been talk about building a building and sharing part of it, Lions Club and being able to use a part of it, and then the city using another part and sharing costs and some other options like that. But the last discussion that the Lions Club had was just for the possibility of just putting the cargo container up there, just for the trailer.
I do like the idea of mouse-proof, but like I said, there's some issues here, and I don't know how much we're gonna solve tonight. But I have not measured that current shed up there. I don't know. Does anybody have any cost of the container, or looked at the cost of a building replacing that one, or maybe making it bigger to accommodate the Lions Club? I mean, does anybody have any figures on that?
Yeah.
This is Justin again. So actually, I misspoke. So originally, the plan was to knock that building down, build a new one that was big enough for the city and for Lions Club. And that was at the same time then when the McGregor building issue came available. So originally, there was talk. So I was out there, Creighton Ostrich, Jim Knapp, and Scott were out there. We did measurements. Scott should have all the measurements. We looked at that, the cost. They looked at something similar to the gazebo that they put up in the park, and that I think the cost was going to be, with sidewalls, was going to be around $20,000. And the plan originally, or the discussion, was to split it in half. Half of it with the Lions Club, half of the city. At the time, the city didn't think they had the money for it, and they were going to try to get as many more days out of that dilapidated shed that they could. So,
okay.
But then again, that was in early, probably April 2017, and then in May 2017 is when McGregor told us that they were not going to renew their lease. So all of a sudden, everything shifted to the McGregor building and everything else I said. So
yeah,
there was measurements taken and initial costs done, but that was, like I said, about 3 years ago. And the Lions Club might have even been willing to pay like 75% of that cost if the city could kick in money at the time. But that, again, the city didn't really think they had any money to do anything with. It never went. It just fell apart after that McGregor thing came out.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that info. So I think going forward we should, if the council can just think about it and see some other options, and I can put some stuff together, some numbers, get the measurements from Scott and all that. The other thing I'd say real quick that we're going to kind of tie into a little bit later, but maybe is have the Public Works Committee through the council maybe get with the Lions Club, and so we can try to, whatever that final solution is, whether it's a cemetery or a different building or whatever that solution is, maybe the Public Works Committee can work directly with the Lions Club on that.
Yeah, I guess a question for you, Nathan, and also Justin. When you guys, that quote for that building, was it just, did you go solicit bids for multiple, or what kind of places did you guys go for building that shed? Was it just kind of...
The Lions Club had built the previous year, they had built the new gazebo, so they had the information from those people. I don't know who it was, because the Lions Club was the one that was kind of directing it. And so they were just basing it off of the cost of what that gazebo cost them, plus, like I said, they had called the place that built it or whatever. So,
to answer your question, David, I don't think they solicited bids, formally. I think they just talked to the people that built the gazebo and kind of had an idea of what it might cost. I don't think there's any official bids for a building up there.
Well, it was the Lions Club doing it, so they don't
Okay. Well, going forward with that, if they want the shed and it's dilapidated and you put a cargo there, how much room do we actually have? And I'm not expecting the answer tonight, but how big a footprint can we encompass there without interfering with grade plots or future expansion or anything like that?
Yeah.
Anybody have it?
Scott has all that information. He measured it all. He had all that stuff down. So when he gets back from vacation, he should be able to get that information to Nathan.
About that perfect.
Okay.
This is Peter. I have a comment to make. As I recall, Mike Cronrath, who was on the council at the time, was engaged in that project, as I remember, and it might be worthwhile to contact him to see if he has any thoughts currently. Also, there's a consideration of the difficulty in getting a 20-foot container into the cemetery without desecrating graves or knocking posts over and so on.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would get a 20-foot container in that on the roadways in the cemetery.
Yeah, I think we'd have to look at it and see there may be a possibility going through the field behind and around the cemetery, but it sounds like there's some work to do there as far as myself and talking to some other people that were involved. I'm on Lions Club, however, I haven't been really involved with the city side of it, so I'll get with the Public Works Committee, and as you said, Peter, I'll talk to Mike and anyone else that was involved in that and see if we can come up with a solution.
Good, thank you.
Hey, Nathan, I got one quick question.
Yeah.
Is these flags in storage for such, is the cemetery the only place that these flags are used?
Yes, that is correct. Those are solely for, there's pieces of pipe that were put in the ground up there with some concrete, and they're solely for the spots that they're in when you see them.
Okay. Well, that was my question. That it really didn't, from a logistical standpoint, storing them halfway across town or downtown and bringing them up, so it would be kind of, get old doing that after a while. Yeah, that was handy. So, ease of operation. We have to figure something out that's closer vicinity there that would enhance the up and down, or when they take them up and down and all that kind of stuff. And I yield the floor.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll look into it and get in touch with some people and see what we can figure out there. We try to push on and come up with a solution there. Next agenda item, census. That's just something that I want to put on there. You guys may or may not know. I know I sent an email out, I believe last month, to the council members, just just informing them that the census is very important for our funding. So I just wanted to kind of remind the council members to themselves fill out their census info, as well as talking to other citizens and community members, and just kind of try to bring that up with people and put a little bit of importance on that. There's a lot more to the census than just filling out the packet as far as what happens with the city and the funding. So that's just kind of a reminder is all that is. I wanted to, I've done a little bit of research and plan to do some more as far as how that impacts the money that we receive and any other areas that census number is used. So that's just kind of a reminder and update. I don't know if you guys have any questions on that.
David, then.
Okay. Alrighty, let's move on. The Lincoln County Public Works Agreement for building code services, building inspection. That was something that I brought up, I believe a month ago or maybe two, that I would get to you guys. I realized that it wasn't out real early before the meeting this month. However, it is out, and I thought I'd give you guys the floor to ask questions, comments, concerns on the document itself, or anything else as far as that agreement would go. This is just to be able to contract with Lincoln County to have them serve as our building inspection service.
Is this supposed to be in year 2009?
What's that?
It says year 2009.
Do we have a typo that I didn't catch?
Well, I don't know who typed it up. I would assume this came to us this way, but it says this agreement is made and entered into in this blank day of blank 2009.
No, that was something that I probably missed changing the year on. This agreement document did come to me, and then I changed, put the Harrington info in there. Where are you looking at, Stephen? Oh, right in the first paragraph. Nope, that's an easy fix. I will mark that down and change that.
This is Peter. I have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Go ahead. How is the split ratio agreed upon? And are there other cities in the county that have similar agreements? And if so, do we know what their split is?
So this split for us would be 75-25. The county would take the 75% of the money that was due, and then the city would keep 25% of that. I do know for sure there are at least there's one other town in Lincoln County that uses this, and I believe there are more than that. So this document that I originally received before it was changed proprietary to us was from Reardon. This is one that Reardon uses. I know Deer Meadows at the river uses it. So yes, there's other entities, other cities that use this agreement, but I do not know that split is the same.
Nathan, this is Justin. So I talked to Courtney about this last year. That's how it originally came up. We put it in our budget, in 2020 budget, based on 2019 conversations, and I know Sprague uses it too. And that's the standard rate that the county does it for the other cities and towns that it works with. So it's just a set amount. If you look at in our budget, even last year, prior to 2020, typically our building permit income is like $500 or less a year. So we're not talking very big dollars anyway to begin with.
Right.
So the purpose was to take the onus off of us having to deal with it, and instead of spending $1,000 to get $500 was to then, spend nothing and get $100 or $20 or whatever it is. So
Okay.
that's the same rate. As far as Courtney telling me it was the same rate all the way across the board.
Okay. Thank you. Peter, you had another question?
No, I was just going to say that was my next question. What kind of money are we talking about? I don't think we have many building applications.
No, I don't. I think more of our applications or the money that's the revenue from that is variance applications and other things like that. I do know there's a couple possibilities coming up of residences and some other things that may be built, but yeah, I don't think it's a large sum of money.
No. You get a motion on that?
If the council feels that they're ready to, absolutely, that'd be great. We can this would go through us, and we would approve it, and then it would also have to go through the county, which, being what Justin said, and that I've talked with the building inspector over there as well, that it is the same document. I don't think they'd have any problem passing it through the county.
Well, I would move that the proposed Lincoln County Public Works Building Inspection Agreement be agreed to by the City of Harrington, that the mayor be empowered to sign it.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second. This is Justin. I'll second it.
Okay, I think, Steven, did you get in there for the second? I think I heard.
Either way, I could be gracious and let Justin have it. I mean, he should have one, I think.
Okay. Well, either way, I heard Steven first. We'll take Steven as a second. All in favor? I will make that one correction to the year that you mentioned as well before this is actually signed. All in favor?
I have one more thing. No, Nathan, I got one more thing. Discussion.
Okay, discussion. Go ahead.
So on item number 1, about halfway down on page 1, under services. So this is obviously a 2009 document, but I think this is the Uniform Building Code of 2006 edition. I know the most recent one is 2015, but I think to keep it current with the county, whenever that building code changes, if we can just maybe change that to say enforcement of the, tie it to whatever the county's doing, so it doesn't have to be, we don't have to update it every year that the building code changes.
Okay. Change it to the enforcement of the current standing Uniform Building Code, or, yeah. Okay.
Yep, yes.
Okay, I can make that change as well. Thank you for bringing that up. Any more discussion? Yeah.
David, I have a question. Currently, how have we been handling these building inspections? Just refresh my mind how it's been done up until this moment. We're going to take on the agreement.
Up to this moment, Scott has been doing the inspections as far as I know. He was at some point in the history he was given that task of inspections.
So Nathan, this is Justin. A couple of things. So when we had the building permit for Sanchez, we had to contract out with the guy who's at the city of Othello, because I don't think that the property owner was satisfied with who we had. And then I know from Herschel, when we did the improvements on our building, our commercial building, the county would not let us use Scott because he's not a licensed building inspector.
Right.
So we also used the services of an outside, so we paid, I think we did directly, Heather and I paid that person. I know for Sanchez, that's when we updated it, but the city had to pay several $1,000s, and we only collected about $500, so it was a fiasco. But in recent years, we don't have anyone disqualified, so it really been a challenge. So.
Okay, so it sounds like we've contracted those services out to other places that have building inspectors then. So I guess I stand a little bit corrected there, David.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for clarifying that. And so, okay. I got my answer.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the interlocal agreement for building code services with Lincoln County signify by saying aye.
Levi, aye.
Aye.
Peter says aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, council. Passes 5-0. I'll get those corrections made in here as far as the document goes and pass it on to the county, and we'll let you guys know as soon as it's fully accepted by the county. Thank you. Okay, you guys got a printout of an email and as well as a proposed resolution on this Liberty State. I want to start out real quick by saying the resolution that you guys have in your packet, that was not a document that I drafted or anyone here at the city drafted. We were contacted by an organization who is pushing for this split of the state. They want to split Washington at the Cascade Range, and they sent this to me, and so I thought I would pass this along to you guys, more of a FYI, and allow you guys to research it. They're asking us to actually adopt or sign this resolution at a city level so that they're allowed to send this on to a county level and then further on up through the process. So this was kind of an FYI. I wanted to allow you guys just knowledge that we received it and that this is happening. I don't expect to pass a resolution to make any official voting on it, but I thought I'd bring it up just because we got the email and see what you guys thought, and if you had any questions or comments.
This is Peter. I have a comment. I've talked with Shelley Sieberkrop about this at Lincoln County Republican Coordinating Committee meetings, and I happen to support this effort, but I think what we probably ought to do, rather than voting on it tonight, given that there are a few errors in it, establish a dialogue with Ms. Sieberkrop. As far as I know, that hasn't happened yet.
Correct.
Coordinate that, find out if there's any time pressure on the vote, and I would propose we table it until the next meeting.
Yeah, I agree, Peter. I think there's definitely not enough information just with what we have here. The other thing, too, that I would add is I'd be cautious. I'd like to have you guys kind of research this and see if you need to talk to Shelley Sieberkrop, or you can research on the internet. There's a website for it too as well. But it, from my personal take, there's some stuff that I see there that could be problematic, just as far as funding and some money issues as a state as a whole. But I will leave that up to you guys to research and kind of bring forth your questions, comments, and concerns on it. But I just wanted to allow you guys the opportunity to see that we received it.
Do we know what other cities may have been approached by this group? Are all in Lincoln County being approached, do you know?
I do not know that for a fact. I think I was looking in the email here. I believe that this is something that has been approached all throughout Lincoln County. It says in the email that they put in the Lincoln County Advertiser, so it's definitely been noticed that way from the other cities. But as far as the email and who Shelley is personally contacted, I don't know that. Okay. City Council Committees update. David and Steven, I sent you guys both an email This is something that was put in place previously to kind of help along with things through the city and for situations that may arise or tasks. You guys should have in your packet a copy of those updated committees, and everybody's kind of settled in there, but I just wanted to bring that up quick, give you guys a list so we knew where everyone was, and I do plan on maybe trying to hand down some stuff there for you guys to work on from time to time. So that was just kind of an update. Do you guys have any question on the committee stuff?
Looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Nathan.
What's that?
So thank you.
Yep, you bet.
We're all good. We'll get into it later. The information you have and stuff, anything you can pass along would be great.
Okay. Yeah, and if you guys feel like meeting, the other person that's on that committee, and you have something that you want to run by before it comes into City Hall or whatever, feel free to do that. But I think we should. I think it'd be a good thing to utilize those committees. I know there's plenty of stuff to deal with. So, okay, we struck the sewer employee and the city employee handbook again until we can meet in person. I have some additions on here. Peter, I'll give you the floor for the speed control by the cemetery.
Say again?
I'll give you the floor.
The additional object, yeah.
Yep.
Well, last week I was in City Hall and shared with Nathan and with Janice the fact that several citizens had approached me about the cars that are ignoring the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit approaching Harrington from the south and going by the cemetery. And Nathan pointed out that that is a county problem, a county highway, and that is correct, but I think the city still has a vested interest in this issue, and I would encourage the city to approach the county to do something to slow traffic down. We should act before there's an accident by the cemetery. I think it's a dangerous situation.
I agree. So just to back up a little bit, Peter, too, that is a county road. I don't know exactly how things work as far as, obviously that's our speed limit going through town, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't trying to pass the buck off fully to the county, but they're obviously going to be probably involved there a little bit, so maybe that's something else that the Public Works Committee could work on, as well as myself, and see if we can maybe even work with the Sheriff's Office there to try to mitigate that.
The Sheriff has issued a bunch of tickets to cars that are ignoring the speed limit there.
So they're well aware of it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is a serious problem in my opinion. I suspect that I see traffic go by the golf course on a frequent basis, and I would hazard to guess that some of those cars are doing 60 miles an hour in a 25-mile limit.
Yeah.
Or at least.
Maybe a flashing sign or limited view sign or something. So we've got to slow traffic down before an accident occurs.
Yeah, I agree. You brought up the flashing sign there, Peter. I've actually, being employed at the county, I've kind of been involved, just very small amount, but been involved with some flashing sign installations in other places. There's actually grants through the Sheriff's Office. I don't know exactly who the funding source is, but that might be something we can talk to the Sheriff's Office about to get something there to grab people's attention a little bit more.
Yeah, good.
Nathan, this is David.
Yeah.
And I'd like to address Peter as well. I've made numerous calls to Sheriff Majors and expressed concern on that whole road. And he assured me that they have deputies out there. And I started picking up certain different times, but it seems like the most frequent times of speeders is like Thursday through Monday. Weekend travelers
Right.
out of area, and maybe instead of suggest to him or ask him his deputies to slip outside of town, or maybe a quarter mile, or there's an area there that they could certainly make a presence and slow them down before they get to that area, before they can nail them for going down there 60 miles an hour. It would serve two purposes: slow them down and before they even get into the 25 mile an hour zone.
Okay.
And I do believe that the city does have jurisdiction over city limits.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that too. I think that'd have to be kind of a shared interest there between the city and the county and the sheriff's offices, all three of those, to try to do something.
Yeah.
This is Justin too. We contract with the sheriff's office, so we pay them. So that's one of the requests we can do. We can request that they, like David said, we spend more time out here. But if that comes directly from the city, it might have more weight than a citizen, just because we contract. The city, and they brought out that little trailer that has the speed limit, the slow down sign or whatever.
Yeah.
So it might just be a phone call to talk to them about, upping their presence. Davenport's having problems with them right now too. But we pay them every year, so we have a right to ask them to help us out and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good thought process coming from the city, where we do contract with them. I think we'll put something together, whether it's just a phone call or even maybe a written statement or something. But
I happen to know that Harrington citizens have contacted the sheriff's office directly, and that's led to having sheriff's deputies posted out here intermittently, and they've issued quite a number of citations for speeding.
Okay.
The sheriff's office has been very receptive. They've been very responsive, but I think we have to press the matter even further and get the problem solved.
okay, yeah, we can do that. I think we should. I'd like to check into, if for what it's worth, if we think it'll help, maybe even checking into one of the permanent electronic signs, whether there's grant funding out there for that, and then any other available resource that we can throw at it.
Good.
Just a quick question, Nathan.
Yeah.
To everybody. It might sound silly, but it's worked through Reardon and it's worked in Davenport. And if they don't have the deputies available, but if they put a dummy car out there on the side of the road,
Right.
and they see what I'm saying? It does have an effect. It does psychologically. People catch on to that. It gets their attention. So, if they squawk about personnel, I don't know, that's an option too.
Right.
That's been effective before.
Okay. Yeah, those are all good ideas. I think we'll definitely look into it and see if we can get something accomplished there. Okay, Peter, I'm going to leave the floor with you. You have masks and PPE on here.
Yeah, I was approached recently by a Harrington resident who pointed out the irregular application of the mask requirement. And he raises a good point. He points out that in some businesses they're adhering to the governor's mandate, in other places they are not, including City Hall. And he requested that I raise this point during this meeting and see if we can have a little more coherent application of the mask requirement.
Okay. So as far as businesses go, I don't know on a city level exactly what can be done there. I use the word enforce lightly, but for lack of a better word. And as far as going forward with the city hall, we have our masks here that we're able to use, and as well as citizens coming in, it's available to them as far as coming in the door, they have masks, and there's hand sanitizer here as well. And we've obviously stepped up the cleaning in both the City Hall and Memorial Hall both. So I don't know, as far as the businesses go, I don't know exactly what can be or what we can do there.
I guess my principal concern is for the safety and welfare of city employees. To maximize that welfare, I think we're going to have to require masks.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, if that's what's set forth by the governor, then we definitely need to make an effort to abide by that.
Yeah. That's a decision I'll leave to the mayor.
Okay, thank you. One more for you, Peter. This is regarding the Casey Mung from our sewer contractor, and her email from an earlier meeting. Go ahead, and I'll let you have the floor on that as well.
Well, she volunteered, or she responded in the affirmative when asked if she would submit a letter to the city concerning the events that led up to the $5,000 fine we had to pay late last year. And I'm curious to know if we've received that letter. In my opinion, it's not too late to pursue the issue of getting a reimbursement of that fine.
Okay. Yeah, so to answer your question, Peter, I have not received anything. I've made numerous attempts, both via email and phone, to get a hold of her to try to get those documents, and have not acquired them. I will see what I can do to try to contact her again, by any means necessary, to try to get that information. And then moving forward, I would like to have some help from one of the committees on that, as far as preparing everything that we need to or can to try to be reimbursed for that fine.
Okay, thank you.
But I have not received anything at this point. Okay, thanks, Peter. Last thing I have on here, Justin, you had an addition for the Public Works Board training sessions.
Yeah, and one more thing I was going to ask you too, if you could, can you update the council on the annual report status?
Yes, I'm sorry I forgot that. The annual report, as you guys know, we went through last meeting. I kind of explained what it entailed and what I knew about it. We had our meeting early June, and there was an extension from the original deadline until it was extended to June 17th. So we were diligently working on that, myself and Janice and our treasurer as well, and there was then another extension given. We made that extension and have completed our annual report and sent that off to the auditor's office. Boy, it's a lot of work, and for 3 people that had never done it before, it was quite the process, but we got her done and got it submitted. I know I said this last meeting, but I want to reiterate it, that we do have our bias software that will alleviate not every ounce of work, but a lot of it. It'll be a lot easier to compile next year, so I'm pretty confident that that process will be minimized quite a bit. But it is turned in, and it was turned in on time.
Congratulations, Nathan, and to Jen as well.
Yeah, thank you. It was quite a process.
Good job, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Justin, the floor's all yours. Still there? Still with us, Justin? There you, Justin, are you there? Uh-oh.
Battery died, probably.
There's somebody chimed in.
Yeah, Justin again. Sorry, I got disconnected.
There you go. Okay, no problem. The floor's all yours. Did you hear the update on the annual report stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you for reminding me about that. The floor's all yours.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I know there's been questions that we have several new council people and folks that are asking questions, but I got an email, Nathan, I forwarded it to you, so I don't know if other council members got it, but the Washington State Public Works Board usually has like an all-day meeting, but they're having online sessions next week, beginning on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for visualization, value setting, and asset management.
You're breaking up on us a little bit there.
Did anybody copy that?
So, I do know what he's talking about, David. I did receive the email. Trying to find it here so I can make sure I can give you the right information.
Has anyone on the council attended one of these in the past, or know what to expect?
So when I was on the council, David, not through Public Works Board, but we attended some. I attended a couple of these meetings over at the Lincoln County office for the regionalization and asset management both. The ones online I have not done, and I don't know exactly what these will entail, but yes, I have attended a few of them.
Okay. Did you find them very useful, somewhat, or don't waste your time? How do you rate that?
I think they're useful. I think there's a lot of good ideas. You know, it's a lot of this. The regionalization is pretty infant in its infancy, but the asset management and the value planning stuff, I haven't done a lot of the value planning, but the asset management I think is great. There's a lot of stuff that we can take away as a city from those classes and just doing the asset management in general. So I would rate them good.
Okay, and online, yeah. Well, I'll just wait for your email and the info on it. I'd be glad to sit in on one of those.
Yeah, I'll pass the info along. I'm trying to find the email now so I can kind of give you a better description. That way I'm not trying to tell you guys off the top of my head, but I can't find it right now, so when I do, I will pass it along to you guys.
Okay, perfect.
Justin, are you there at all, or? Nope. Okay, I think we lost him.
Maybe back.
Sorry, Nathan, I'm back now.
Okay, go ahead. I kind of updated him a little bit. David asked me, you know, how I rated some of the regionalization and the asset management stuff that I've been through, you know, over at the Lincoln County building, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is from the state Public Works Board, which helps us, actually helps us with funding and stuff too. But they're out 1 hour, they're 90-minute sessions, the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. And I would recommend, or encourage you guys, the rest of the council, as well as Nathan and Janice, if they can attend, to attend, just because it's stuff that we deal with and we're going to be dealing with for the next several years. So I think it's probably just helpful and worthwhile. That was it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Justin, for the update.
Okay, that is the end of my list. Do we have anything else or any public comment at this time?
This is where go ahead. Go ahead, say it. Or I move to adjourn. This is Levi.
Okay, we have a motion to...
Wait.
David, second.
Okay, we have a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting, 8:41, signify by saying aye.
Levi, aye. David, aye.
Peter says aye.
Okay, got 3, Steven,
Sure, aye.
Justin, you still with us? I don't think so. Well, we'll pass motion 4-0 to adjourn. Thank you guys for another month of calling in and taking time to do it this route. It takes a little bit longer, but we got it done. Thank you guys.
Very good. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
You too. Have to.
Bye.